I drive every day and I notice speed cameras everywhere these days. I want to explain why those cameras are where they are so you can anticipate them and drive safer. I often hear drivers say a camera appeared out of nowhere, but there is usually a reason based on data and safety priorities. Imagine I am on my way to work and I suddenly see a camera I did not expect. That feeling is understandable, but it is not random. In this video, I will walk you through the real criteria behind camera placement and what it means for your daily routes. First, I will show you the data that drives decisions, then how locations are evaluated, and finally how you can use that knowledge to stay safer. Data is the backbone of every placement decision I have seen. I look at crash history and the severity of past incidents to identify high-risk locations. I consider speeding complaints from neighbors because community reports often point to chronic problems. I examine traffic congestion patterns to understand how speeds and interactions change at different times. I pay close attention to pedestrian and bicycle collision data since vulnerable road users are a primary concern. Authorities are not picking streets at random. They focus on where speeding leads to real harm or serious near-miss events. For example, I remember a neighborhood where parents reported several near-miss incidents near a school crosswalk, and that area became a priority. Another time, I saw a stretch of road with frequent rear-end crashes tied to high approach speeds, and that drove enforcement there. The key idea I want you to remember is that cameras are deployed where evidence shows they can improve safety, not just to issue tickets. To recap this point, data like crashes, complaints, congestion, and vulnerable user incidents point the way to camera sites. Next, I will explain how those candidate sites are evaluated and turned into actual camera locations. Traffic engineering studies are my starting point for understanding how many vehicles pass and how fast they travel at different times of day. Field observations give me the on-the-ground context, such as how pedestrians cross and where drivers tend to speed. I work with police crash units because their reports provide the details about when and how collisions occur. Planners, engineers, and enforcement officers collaborate to balance technical analysis with practical enforcement needs. The step-by-step process starts with collecting data, then studying patterns, and finally evaluating the safety benefit of potential enforcement points. I recall engineers studying speeds near a busy crosswalk that school parents used every morning before recommending camera placement. I also remember police reviewing reports of nighttime speeding on a suburban corridor and proposing targeted enforcement there. The bottom line I emphasize is that the process is systematic and evidence-based, not arbitrary. So what does this planning mean for you when you are behind the wheel? When cameras are placed in high-risk zones, drivers tend to slow down and that reduces collisions. Predictable enforcement improves overall awareness and leads to safer traffic patterns for everyone. If you drive near a school, you will often see lower speed limits and prioritized cameras because children are present. In residential neighborhoods, cameras are common where children and pets are likely to unexpectedly enter the road. On high crash corridors, cameras help reduce repeat incidents by encouraging consistent compliance. If I am rushing and assume cameras are random, I might not slow down until it is too late. So understanding the logic helps me anticipate zones sooner. Remember that camera placement is about encouraging safer behavior where it matters most, not about trapping drivers. Finally, I will talk about how warning apps and navigation tools fit into this picture. Many apps rely on known camera data and crowdsourced reports to alert drivers in real time. Those tools can help me anticipate fixed locations, but they cannot predict future safety-driven placements. For instance, some cameras operate only during school hours to protect children and will not be active at other times. Another example is mobile enforcement that appears for construction zones or special events and moves as conditions change. Technology can help me stay aware, but the underlying logic of placement is still rooted in safety and enforcement priorities. To recap, data, analysis, and collaboration drive where cameras go, and understanding that helps me and you make smarter driving choices. My final piece of advice is to treat cameras as reminders to slow down in high-risk places and to focus on safety over speed.